right, so I'm joined by special guest, offensive coordinator of the Michigan Panthers, Marty. So how are you doing tonight? And thank you for joining me, Coach.
Sam, I'm doing well. It's a pleasure to be on with you and appreciate the opportunity to talk a little spring professional football with you.
Absolutely. Always looking for an opportunity to speak about the spring football leagues. How did you get involved with football, and what drives you to stay in the game after all these years?
Initially a big baseball guy, played soccer, but I always knew I wanted to be involved with football. To me, what makes it such an incredible game is it's the only game where you stop and you put a tactical plan in place before every single play. You know, soccer, there's flow, there's some set pieces. Baseball, you have a couple plays. You know, basketball, there's flow, and of course, there's some set plays. But football, literally before every play, both teams stop and say, hey, this is our scheme strategy on this play, and you go try and make it work, and then you hit the reset button. So I always felt like as a coach, you could have as much impact when it came to football as really any other sport. And then, just Harbaugh's got a quote about it being like the last bastion of toughness in American males, that type of deal, which, there's a little bit of blowhardness there possibly, but I think I think he's spot on in the regard that it challenges young men to do tough things on a daily basis. And, whether that's the daily discipline you need to get up and do the things necessary to have success, or your ankle's hurt, or you get your bell rung or whatever, and you got to go compete in the fourth quarter of a really tight football game. And so, there's so many things I love about it, but ultimately it gives you a chance to compete and gives you purpose and all those different things, whether you're a player or a coach. I think that's really, really special.
Absolutely. So you played your college ball at Chapman, a Division III school, where your team was ironically named the Panthers. To this day, you still hold records over a decade after you graduated. Prior to leaving college, did you know that you would have to look at leagues like the Italian and Austrian football leagues for your next chance?
Yeah. Being a D3 guy, you understand that, you're not real highly sought after. And so, it was a situation where I was really fortunate because our D-line coach had actually been the head coach of one of the Italian teams. And, it was the internet and message boards and different things were kind of getting going. There's a website called europlayers.com that you could kind of connect with teams. So it wasn't as grassroots as what maybe it was a decade before. But, I tried out for an LA arena team and didn't really get any interest there. And, ultimately I knew I was going to have to pursue it. But I had a nice college career. I kind of bloomed late. I really felt like it was going to be a situation where I had more to offer and I wanted to continue to compete, and my game was getting better and better. I didn't feel like I peaked as a senior in college. So I pursued it really hard. I'm just kind of like everything, my goal was I was going to message 5 teams a day. And so I wrote 5 messages a day and got a lot of no responses and, all that stuff. And ultimately I thought I was going to sign with a second division German team. And then on Christmas Day, the team that my coach had, my college D-line coach had coached for, they hit him up saying, hey, we need a quarterback. And he said, hey, our senior's pretty good, and I know he's interested in playing. And so on Christmas Day, I ended up getting an offer to go play for the Bolzano Giants, which it was a big deal because it was, first division Italian league job versus second division and all those different things, which, 500 euros versus 1,000 euros compared to what, American professionals make and different things like that. It's not, it's night and day difference. But for me, it was an opportunity to get in the first division, a solid situation, and just try to make the most of the opportunity. I was fortunate that it worked out for me.
Absolutely. So talk to me about your time playing overseas. Did you enjoy your time in Italy and Austria, and how does the level of competition compare to your college?
Yeah, it was a blast. There's definitely challenges. I don't know if you've read John Grissom's Playing for Pizza, but it's a Grissom novel about the league, and it's really romanticized. And his first, every meal is a 7-course meal at somebody's family restaurant, all this stuff. And I showed up, and they're like, "Hey, everything's closed. We'll take you to McDonald's." And so it was just a little different. And there were some challenges and language barriers and logistical issues coming from college. What you expect professional football or even high level football and what it is at times is really different. So you have to make the most of it, and you have to keep an open mind, and every situation is what you make it. And I took it very seriously. But, we would, before our first game, on Sunday, we had a 2-a-day on Saturday. Could you imagine if you did that with American players? Heads would be exploding, guys would be boycotting. So it was different. But I compare it to, good high school football. And then you have your outliers of, depending on the league rules. Italy was 3 Americans and they could play all the time. Austria had 4 Americans, but only 2 could be on the field at the same time. So, it's like good high school football. Maybe they can compete with some D3 teams type of deal, but then you have some, really, really elite players also running around the field that make it a pretty unique game because of the matchups and different things like that. And so, all my D3 college teammates would ask me if they could play over there. And yeah, absolutely. You could start for our team. But the question is, I didn't necessarily tell them this, but the question is, are you good enough for a team to say, hey, we have 3 or 4 import spots. You're enough of a difference maker at your position that we would give you a contract. And so, I always joke that being a year up as a quarterback, your job was always safe because, nobody else can throw a ball over there. But, for the other positions, it's challenging. You got to go over there and you got to make an impact, and they have an idea of what they've seen before and what they want and what they expect. And so, but, luckily for me, I went over there and we had success. I was actually following a quarterback from Eastern Illinois, and all I knew was that Tony Romo was from Eastern Illinois. So, I might as well have been following a quarterback from USC. I was so intimidated, and I had a really bad practice on that Saturday 2-a-day. It was Bolzano, Northern Italy, in like March. The wind's blowing. I'm fumbling the football. They're yelling at me in Italian. All I could think about was how I was going to explain to my friends and family why I got sent home after 2 weeks. But, we ended up playing well, won that first game, and kind of got it rolling. And, eventually we figured it out, gained some confidence, had some success, won the Italian championship that first year. And it really kind of opened doors for me on the continent from there. And was able to have a really, really nice career over there and meet some unbelievable people and kind of grow as a person, grow as a quarterback and a football mind.
Definitely. It's got to be interesting over there trying to receive coaching in another language, I imagine.
Yeah. I got some good stories, but the first offense was taught to me all in Italian. So like shoot destra, ventisei was shoot right 26. And so I'm stumbling over in the huddle, like one practice or one game. And like our all world Italian guard looks at me and just says, just call the play in English. We know English. And I'm like, okay, shoot right 26. Here we go. Ready. Like that type of stuff. Or that second year in Vienna. Northern Italy was tough from a first year because most people spoke Italian, or it had been part of Austria up until World War II with the Potsdam Conference. And so then you get to Vienna and everybody speaks English. But that first year in Bolzano, it was Italian, it was German, and very few people spoke English. So, there were some challenges, but ultimately we figured it out, and we were all passionate about the game. And at the end of the day, when you win games, everybody comes together and life is good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So after a 4-year pro career that you said was quite decorated and very interesting by the sounds of it, how did this opportunity to transition into coaching come about? And was coaching always something that you decided you would want to do eventually?
Yeah, it was always on my radar. I knew it's what I wanted to do from the time I was a young kid. And so I actually had a much better high school soccer career, but ultimately I went and played Division III football because I knew when I was done, if I played soccer, my coaching options would be very few, right? Who's going to hire a goalie to go coach your quarterback? So, that was the biggest reason why I played football in college. Don't get me wrong, I was passionate. I loved it, but I probably could have played soccer at maybe a higher level. And so every off season in the summer, Division III. So it's not like we were there for summer workouts on scholarship type of deal. So I'd go back up to my high school, Meadowdale High School, and work for my high school coach, Mark Stewart, and help out in the summertime coaching quarterbacks, going to camps, running workouts, those things. So the first call I made after I got that contract with Bolzano was I called him and said, hey, I'm going to be playing in Italy in the spring, but when I'll be back for the fall, I'd love to coach. And so I coached for 3 years for him. And then I didn't think I was going to play that 4th year in Europe. I thought I was going to take a GA job at Kentucky State, and it didn't work out. ended up jumping on an opportunity to go play another year I was stocking shelves in a warehouse, and I was like, well, I could be playing football on the beaches of Sicily. So I played one more year and tried really hard. I just kept hitting up football scoop coaches and everything that got posted, and was really fortunate to get to Panhandle State. So I went from the shores of Sicily to the Panhandle of Oklahoma for my first college coaching job. I was kind of to a point where high school had been awesome, but I knew I wanted to pursue it at a higher level. And obviously, if you're coaching college ball, you can't take off for 5-6 months out of the year to go play abroad. So got a chance to go coach at Panhandle State. Tough place to be in Western Oklahoma, but worked for a really, really good head coach in Russell Gaskamp, who he was the senior center on Ricky Williams' offensive line. And I mean, just taught me a lot of really, really high level, good football. And that kind of opened my eyes to, hey, you can run high level schemes wherever you're at. So you might be a high school coach, a JC coach, a D2 coach, but you can go run the same schemes you're seeing on Sunday at the highest levels of Division I football. And it's not about, oh, you beat your chest just because this is how they do it with the 49ers, but you find your identity, what you believe in, and there's good and bad football at every level. And so that was a really, really good experience for me. But living in the Panhandle of Oklahoma was tough. So actually just through a European connection, an American coach that I knew over there, I almost ended up as the head coach of Sierra College, junior college in California, like 26, 27, which would have been a disaster. But it kind of got me going on the California junior college scene, which would be a chance to get back to the West Coast. But also I just felt like it was a chance to coordinate at a younger age. So I was able to get an offensive coordinator position at Moore Park College. I emailed every junior college program in the state of California. I think I got one, we'll hang on to your resume, and I got one call back, and it ended up turning into a job. And spent a couple years there, and it was just kind of an opportunity to be in the laboratory and really just figure out what I want to do offensively, and made a lot of mistakes, but also figure some things out, and then was able to get the head coaching job at East LA College, and that was kind of the next iteration of going from scheme, offense to all of a sudden you're a head coach, and it's not the best way to run inside zone anymore. It's how are you going to build a program and a culture and put those things in place to go to win football games.
Absolutely. So you kind of just breezed through my next three questions, but that's perfectly okay. In 2016, you end up moving on to Reedley College, a JUCO program in California. What ended up prompting that move from East LA to Reedley College?
Yeah, so I lost a recruit to Reedley when I was at Moore Park. And Moore Park, for those people that don't know, is Thousand Oaks, just north. Actually, the Rams are right there. Coach Fisher was right there at the time. But it's a beautiful place if you haven't been. So I lost a recruit. He said, no, coach, I'm going to go to Reedley. He was a Texas receiver out of Texas. And I had to look it up on the map. And I was like, 30 minutes outside Fresno. This thing's got to be a cow pasture. Like, why? Coach, they have dorms, and my mom wants me to go to a junior college with dorms. So when the Reedley head job came open, it was a full-time position. I wasn't full-time at East LA, and it was an opportunity to get a full-time position. And so, I applied for it and went for it, and knew that because of the dorms and because of the setup, even though it was rural and maybe didn't have the same local recruiting base of LA or Thousand Oaks, Ventura County, it was a place where we were going to be able to recruit the talent we needed to go win football games.
That makes sense. Okay. I thought it was kind of interesting that you took the job, considering that they were already suffering sanctions due to a 2-year probation. So I thought it was really kind of admirable that you took the job and you were willing to work through that and kind of grow with the team through their struggles. And then, it was like the year after those sanctions went away, you guys went 10-0 and were playing in the conference championship, which I thought was just unbelievable for your first time, or not first time, but your first real stretch as a head coach with one team.
Yeah, no, it was quite an experience. It's frustrating when you're obviously have those limitations and challenges, and just people don't understand it takes time to build things. You can try as hard as you want, you can be as good as as anybody, but it takes time to build it. So we had to get the right players in, and we had no idea what we had as far as, like you said, those first 2 years we battled through the sanctions and recruited and changed the program's culture, And, you know, all of a sudden we get off those sanctions, and we got a group of sophomores that had battled through a 4-6 year the season before, and a bunch of good players that, you know, ended up having a 10-0 season, and we lose a nail biter in a bowl game. And the following year, we don't know what we have coming back, and we're able to go 10-1 again. So, you know, I think one of the things about my path is, like, you know, I would have loved to have played Division I football. I would have loved to have gotten a GA job at UCLA coming out of college. And, you know, that's a absolutely valid, awesome path to be able to go that route and learn. But, you know, being at lower levels, you have to wear so many hats and do so many different things. I feel like it's really helped me grow my skill set to a point where, you know, I can see the bigger picture, and I've also had a lot of time to coach different positions. My first year at Reedley, I didn't have an O-line coach, so I coached O-line, and that made me such a better offense coordinator today, because I spent a year coaching offensive line. And, you know, I'm not an expert in it, but I'm pretty well versed versus, you know, a lot of other quarterback receiver guys maybe aren't quite as well versed in some of those things. So, you know, you gotta embrace the path you're on and try and enjoy it as much as possible. And you know, I look back at, you know, the path the good Lord put me on. I think it's been very beneficial, and He's continued to open doors and also, you know, prepare me and help me grow my skill set along the way.
Definitely. So after 6 years coaching at the JUCO level, you're offered and accepted what can be looked at as a promotion, because you're moving up to the Division I level. This time you're hired by Grambling State as their offensive coordinator. Had your play calling evolved after your time as a head coach?
Yeah. I mean, I think what we did at Moore Park and East LA really got refined at Reedley, and we were doing a lot of really good things. And we had players that were in the system for multiple years and, you know, understood what we were trying to do, but then also went out and made plays. And so, you know, I was trying really, really hard to get a Division I opportunity, and had a handful of interviews that maybe I was close on, didn't quite hit. And then my corners coach from 2018, that first undefeated year, was coaching corners at Grambling. And so they had kind of a shakeup during that spring COVID season. And so, you know, everybody knows the G. I mean, I remember NBC football games, watching Grambling, you know, seeing them on TV as a kid, long before the days of, you know, 18,000 syndicated cable networks showing every football game in the world, right? So, you know, went through the interview process and had a plan for it, and you know, knew they were coming off a tough spring and whatnot, but was really excited to jump into that situation. And you know, like you said, it was a promotion. It was for me, it was an opportunity that I worked a really, really long time for. And, you know, unfortunately got there in May, and come November, head coach is let go. And, you know, after the season, the entire staff was let go. So, you know, obviously not what you want in your first venture into Division I football, but, you know, that can be the breaks in this business. So, you know, it's tough moving your family out there, and you have big aspirations for what you're going to do. And, you know, I think we did a lot of good things in year one. Obviously, statistically, we weren't very good offensively, and, you know, that was frustrating. But at the same time, you know, we felt like we laid a foundation where if we would have got a spring ball and come back for year two and continue to recruit, we would have had a chance to really develop and grow. And so, you know, but those are the breaks in this business. And, you know, people don't care about the challenges, and you got to find a way regardless. And, you know, unfortunately, we didn't quite figure out a way to win enough games that year. And all of a sudden we were looking for jobs after the new year.
Never a fun situation, I'm sure, given, you know, your hope that was going to be your big break at the Division I level. But it seems like you landed on your feet with the USFL shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
So.
Extremely fortunate. And, you know, looking back a year previous, I was coaching ball at Reedley College, right? And so all of a sudden you're in the USFL and you're playing games on NBC and coaching Paxton Lynch. It was you know, remarkable and huge blessing, and something that I feel very, very fortunate, but also worked really, really hard to get the opportunity and be prepared for it. And feel really fortunate that Coach Fisher gave me the opportunity to be his OC and put his trust in me.
Absolutely. I normally like to keep these things in chronological order, so we're going to back up just a slight bit.
Absolutely.
So I actually got the chance to speak with a couple of your former players from Grambling State this morning, actually. So I wanted to read some quotes from them for you. So Alden Clark says, "You're a great coach, fun coach, really hands-on with his players, won't let any of his players go without understanding what he's trying to explain. So if the third string player doesn't know it, it's like we all don't know it. He preached consistency and mental toughness. If I could play for him again tomorrow, I would do it in a heartbeat." Which, by the way, he's still available if you need a quarterback.
I love Alden. Alden had an unbelievable high school career down in New Orleans. One of the best players to come through his high school. I'm totally blanking on his program right now, but there's a book about it that I'm reading, which makes Carr. There we go. He's one of the best players to come through Carr and did some great things for us, and I really appreciate those kind of words.
Absolutely. Well, it was echoed by another one of your former quarterbacks, Noah Bodden. Bodden said, "You're a very passionate coach, a fun person to be coached by. He builds special relationships with his players so he can learn how to get the best out of them. Runs a pass-happy offense. Confident coach who believes in his system." What do you make of these assessments by your players? And is this something you take pride in, having these relationships with your players?
I think they're saying some very nice and kind things, and I have a lot of respect for both those guys and really appreciate the work that they put in. And yeah, I mean, it's a human business, and you're in that submarine with that group of guys, and we're all trying to figure it out together. And yeah, I mean, when guys got opportunity in that room, I mean, and it didn't quite go the way we wanted, I'm frustrated for the team. I'm frustrated for myself, but ultimately, I want to see those guys. My heart breaks for them at times because people don't understand how much time and effort you put into football. And, guys devote 365 days a year. You have spring ball, you have off-season workouts. Football isn't a game you play, it's a game you practice. And so, but hearing those words, man, I really appreciate it from those guys, and had great relationships with when I coached those guys. And there's always those players throughout your time that you stay in touch with. But I think that when you work hard at what you do and you try and help guys figure it out, and they see that you have their best intentions in mind, and it's not always easy. Sometimes I would say sometimes this is carrot, sometimes it's the stick. When you do right, I'm gonna love you up. When you're not doing things well enough, I'm gonna let you know. But again, I really appreciate those words, and I'm very passionate about what I do, and I've tried to continue to grow my skill set to a point where I can help guys play good football and their best football. So looking back after what was a little bit of a tough season, I really appreciate those guys saying that.
Yeah, I thought that was something that was very telling. I mean, considering what happened at Grambling State, like you spoke about earlier, where everybody was let go after the season, and actually quite a few of the players transferred as well. To hear them speak about you, I was almost inclined to think that you were part of the reason why some of these guys transferred away from Grambling after this happened.
Yeah, I don't know about that necessarily as far as their decision to transfer. I mean, I think that always comes down to guys and what they, especially at the quarterback position, it's all about, whether or not you feel like you're going to get meaningful reps. And, those are each situation is its own. So I don't want to, try and say I know necessarily what went on with the new staff coming in, but, it's quarterbacking is so hard because one guy plays, and there's one situation that always comes to mind, which was Colt McCoy, and I can't even tell you who his backup was, but he finished at Ole Miss, and Colt McCoy starts as a true freshman, and this is pre-transfer era, but starts as a freshman, plays every game until he gets hurt in the national championship against Alabama, and he had another 4 or 5-star freshman come in with him, that basically had to. Colt McCoy hurts his ankle as second week of year 2, and the guy comes. You never know when that situation's coming, and so it's just so hard to know for quarterbacks and guys that are good players. Is this a situation where if I stick it out, I'm going to get an opportunity, or is this a situation where they have other guys in mind and I need to move on? And so, that's definitely tough, but I really enjoyed working with those guys, and wish them the best as they continue to pursue their dreams. And that's I had this thought recently is you see so much about, especially at the college level, with guys chasing that D1 opportunity, this, that, and the other thing. with quarterbacking, it's about finding meaningful reps. That's the hardest thing. I don't care if it's Division I, I don't care if it's NAIA, I don't care if it's the NFL or the USFL. And that's what's so special about our league. I mean, when's the last time Paxton Lynch got a chance to start 3 football games? I mean, in a season, or Shea Patterson's been grinding his butt off for multiple years trying to get a chance to start a football game again. Lance Lenore got 88 targets. Lance Lenore hadn't had 88 targets in a season since he probably graduated from Western Illinois. So, those are things that football's tough to get those opportunities, and wherever you feel like you can find them, you got to go.
Absolutely. I mean, you summed that up as perfectly as you possibly could. And I mean, it firsthand because you were there. So, I mean, it's awesome to see these guys getting opportunities in the USFL. And that's a big reason why I love spring football. I mean, these guys are super hungry. They're working for practice squad spots a lot of times. And now the USFL offers them an opportunity to play, which, I mean, to me is priceless, especially for guys that are trying to get the opportunity to move up to the next level, like a Lance Lenore or Ishmael Hyman. Or many other people that should really get an opportunity on your roster. But next, I want to ask you about the quarterback position. I mean, you guys had a very interesting run at quarterback this season. Ultimately, I think you guys shocked a lot of people when you ended up selecting Shea Patterson first overall. Can you enlighten us as to what went into that process to choose Patterson over some of the other quarterbacks that are available?
Yeah, he was a little bit of a late ad. He'd been up in the CFL, and so ultimately, we had a chance to evaluate him and really liked some of the things he'd done at Michigan, and the word coming out of there was really, really high praise. I mean, he's one of the most talented quarterbacks that I've been around, and so we knew he could throw it, he could run it, he was going to work hard, he was going to lead, he was going to compete, and so. We were really excited to get him and working with him, man, I really appreciate the work that he put in. And, and just like Alden and Noah, I mean, he worked so hard, and we were both hoping for a different outcome to our season. But, as far as a guy having talent, and as he continues to get reps and develop and grow as a quarterback, I mean, he's as a talented guy as there is in the league. So, I hope I see him on Instagram putting the work in. I know he's going to continue to work at it and stay ready for his next opportunity. He's got a lot of confidence and a lot of ability. And, it's about stacking reps at this position. And that's what people don't understand. It's so invaluable to get these spring league reps, NFL training camp reps, because, ultimately, I wrote a book a few years back about quarterbacking and Rodgers, Manning, Brady. What do they all have? And Breeze, what do they all have in common? They came out with over 1,000 collegiate passing attempts. And so, that's what these guys need to develop and be able to play at the level that, the NFL teams and USFL teams want to see.
That's a great point. That's a great point. I think Manning actually at one point said that you need roughly 10,000 hours to master anything. So it's incredibly hard to get that at the NFL level when you're fighting for the couple reps you're going to get as a third or fourth string quarterback in a camp.
Oh, there's no doubt. You sit there all practice, and all of a sudden you get in for 3 or 4 plays, and you're going to get evaluated on that. That's just tough. And the one thing that I think gets glossed over with the spring league stuff is it's not just about, oh, I need some fresh tape so I can show the NFL guys that, hey, I'm in shape, I'm ready to go. Like a Lance Lenore or maybe a Ishmael Hyman, guys that were already in camp and have a little bit of reputation and been active. Yeah, okay, maybe for them it's about just showing some fresh tape. But for the majority of these guys, it's also continuing to get better and grow their skill set and improve to a point where you're better at your craft. So when you get back into that camp, you're making some of the plays you didn't make before, or you have a better grasp of how to learn an offense. So when you get that crash course and all of a sudden you get signed, it's that crazy situation where the next day you're flying out to Cleveland and you have a playbook in your hand that's, 100 pages. You are more in tune to how to learn it and those different things. So, there's just so many things that, people think it's all about exposure. It's not only about exposure. It's about getting an opportunity to play football and get better at football, which, you need those game reps for those things to slow down.
Yeah, I mean, how else are you going to learn? I mean, quite frankly, it's got to be really hard as a quarterback specifically to learn an offense or to teach an offense to your receivers at times if you can't have the repetitions to actually learn it yourself.
Well, and just where else are you going to, you can go throw a million routes on air with, with your buddies, or you can go to a, whatever you call it, a workout facility and throw routes on. But how often do you get a chance to sit in a pocket with a bunch of bodies around you, see through that screen, see a defensive rotation, make a read and a throw? Yeah, you can go play pickup basketball. You can play pickup soccer. You can do some different things and figure out a way to get some quote unquote live reps in other sports. But football, it's hard to manufacture those. And that's the other, and we're probably going to get to this shortly here, but I think the quarterback play in the league the first couple weeks was not nearly as good as it was down the stretch, because you have a bunch of guys that, we didn't have a very elaborate training camp because our numbers were so short. So they didn't get a ton of 7-on-7 reps, ton of team reps. Now all of a sudden they're playing live football versus, week 4, week 5, week 6, you start to see some of these passing attacks come alive. And so, but I could go on and on about that. I'll let you fire off the next question.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Feel free. This is very open form. So if there's anything you want to talk about in length, feel free. But so you kind of preface my next question perfectly, actually. So during the season, as you mentioned, we saw quite a bit of bad quarterback play at the start. So it sounds like you attribute a lot of that to the short training camps, which we've all harped on several times. So I'm not going to go into too much detail there. But how do you, as a coach, prepare your team for a change at the quarterback position when you feel like it's time, when the starter's been struggling?
Yeah, well, for us, it was compounded by also we had a quarterback competition. I mean, we took Shea over number 1 overall, and we're thrilled to get him. When Paxton Lynch was sitting there at 16, we were just as thrilled. And to an extent, I felt a little bit bad for Shea, where on another team he's the guy and there's no other question. Well, we were able to pick up Paxton Lynch, and now you gotta give him an opportunity to win it as well. So they're splitting reps, and we have 5-6 receivers, and you're really concerned about your guys' legs, right? You want to go into week 1 with a healthy group. You don't want to go into week 1 with a bunch of hamstring issues. So anyhow, it was a challenge. It wasn't just the short training camp, but it was also the small roster numbers, because you can only take so many reps to 7-on-7 and team and different things like that. So, we did our best to make sure both guys were ready to play. Both guys played in the scrimmage. Both guys played in week 1. Both guys played in week 2. And Paxton gets dinged in week 3 when he eventually got the start. So, both guys played in week 3. And, I think it's about making sure that, and, you kind of heard Alden talk about it. You can't just coach the first guy in the room, whether it's quarterbacks or receivers. Like you have to make sure that your 1's ready to go and that your 2's ready to go. And I've been the guy in the back of the room. And so I also think there's a little bit of awareness where, if I don't care who's our starter, I'm not just going to ask you all the questions all week, because I don't want that 2 or 3 to feel disengaged or feel like he's not valued, or, he doesn't need to be on edge. So, did our best to try and make sure that everybody in that room was prepared. And the other thing is, quarterbacking is the most dependent position in the world. And so, everybody wants to take a quarterback number 1 overall when their team has the first pick, but you better make sure you have an O-line. You better make sure you have a defense. You better make sure you have some skill positions around them. And so, I think obviously a lot of the blame fell on the quarterbacks early in the season. But, at the same time, there's continuity issues. There's things going around that some of it's on the quarterbacks, but some of it's on the guys around them. So, it's just a big work in progress. And, thankfully, offensively, we were able to, after we kind of laid an egg in week 2, we were able to get our bearings and kind of get it rolling. But, at the same time, we're in a lot of close games that if we could have made a play here or there, I could have had a better call in a situation, our season looks a lot different. So that was tough, but a lot of motivation getting ready for year 2.
Absolutely. So you talked about it a minute ago. I mean, you're always preparing the next guy in the room, the next guy who's going to step up. Well, losing Lance Lenore and Ishmael Heim into the NFL, I mean, who do you look to step up next season at receiver?
Yeah, I mean, obviously anybody that didn't get selected or signed to the NFL, I hope they're back. And so, I think one thing I'm optimistic, and I know there's some contractual things that will help it, but also, we're in direct competition with the XFL now, but the powers that be at the USFL know that as well. So, the salaries are going to go up. The accommodations for the players are going to be better. Like everything is going to be better in year 2. And, there are some things that, some logistical challenges that maybe could have been worked out a little bit better. But the other thing is, like, I hear all the noise and I have Twitter too, but the USFL was the first team to to complete a spring season since the original USFL, if I don't have that mistaken, right? And
2012. The UFL, United Football League.
There we go. You learn something every day. Well, props to the UFL. But, I had a buddy that coached with the AF, and he talked about how they spent. And all of a sudden, week 6, they're out of money. And so, there's some times where you maybe wish the coffers were loosened a little bit. And, oh, man, there's nobody in the stands and this, that, and the other thing. But, for me, I got a job. For all these players, they got jobs. We just saw what just happened with Major League Football, and that's different because they don't have the same sort of financial backing. But at the same time, it is, this isn't the NFL. The pockets aren't unlimited type of deal. So, I'm really happy and that we were able to pull off year 1. But anyway, getting back to my message to our guys coming back is, the USFL is going to make a greater financial commitment to everybody involved, and those details will be coming out sooner than later. But it's important to get that message out because, like exactly what you said. All right, Ish and Lance were able to land on NFL teams, and I hope they get signed. I hope they're active all year and make a ton of money and get long-term contracts and do all that. And so that just means that it's time for the other guys in the room to grow their roles. And Lance the season led the team in targets, but Joe Walker was great. Michael Petway was unbelievable. Marcus Baugh is a player that I cannot believe hasn't been signed yet. I think he's the best tight end in the league. We missed him a couple times. He should have better receiving numbers. But as far as, as a guy that's signed to Ohio State, so he's a freak athlete. He worked his butt off every day. He blocked his butt off. He played an insane amount of snaps for us. If he doesn't get an NFL look, somebody's not doing their job. But if he comes back to us next year, I'll be happy as heck. So, the other part of that is it's a situation now where we're not going to have to teach the whole team the scheme and system in 3 weeks of Zoom and 3 days of hotel walkthroughs, and all of a sudden we got 2 weeks of training camp. It's going to be I think we'll have an extended preseason from what I'm hearing, but also you have guys that are already versed in the system. And so 10% of the league is in NFL camps right now. That number's climbing every day, which is great to see, but that means that there's going to be a lot of guys coming back. And so that will just help us really kind of roll with momentum into year 2 with what we're doing.
Absolutely. It's got to be super encouraging from a league's perspective that you guys have had 40 players signed so far. It seems like daily we're getting new announcements that other players have been signed. Crazy. And it's amazing.
And listen and just getting to know a lot of our players' stories. A lot of them are like, well, yeah, I got into this camp. They brought me in October. I was on the practice squad for a couple of weeks. I was active for this week, and then I got hurt. So guys are going to continue to get worked out in October and November. And, so we're seeing it now. And, this is new for me too. So when the season ended, there was a 2 or 3 week dead period where it was just like, oh my gosh, are we going to have anybody sign? And now it's now it's a different deal. And so, yeah, that's been awesome to see. And I'm really, really happy for the entire league, and I'm competitive. So I'm always a little bit jaded when I see, I want everybody to have an opportunity. Don't get me wrong, but I want all the Michigan Panthers to have opportunities first. So, when you see a guy sign that you're like, oh, I think our guy's a little better. Somebody give me a call. I'll give you the details on that. But no, I mean, I'm happy for all these guys, and especially happy for our guys. And this is what this thing's about. It's about getting a chance to continue to play ball and getting the exposure. And so it's definitely a positive for the USFL.
Agreed. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to upsell one of your players that I believe has not gotten the interest that he deserves, and that's Reggie Corbin. So I'm curious how your staff was able to discover Corbin, because I mean, up to the point where you guys drafted him, he really hadn't had an opportunity at the professional level.
So he got into it was I don't have the date, but it was an in-season deal with the Seahawks, and he got COVID. It was in season. He was brought in to work out. He got COVID or tested positive for COVID while he was there. Never made it out of the hotel. So that was his one, just bad beat, wrong time. But yeah, I mean, that's one I don't get at all, and why it hasn't happened yet. I know he had to work out with the Seahawks, so keep your fingers crossed there. And just because it hasn't ended up on the dotted line yet doesn't mean it's not going to in a day or two. But the biggest thing I would say about Reggie is he is so freaking smart that it's not only do these guys have physical ability, which yes, he can run it, he can catch it, he can do those things, but he's going to walk in, he's going to have your playbook down, he's going to be great in protection. And so to me, that's always the X factor with running backs. Like, oh yeah, you cut on this tape, this guy's dynamic, he can do it. But what happens when he gets a play call that's 15 words and he needs to go block backside 1 to 2 to scan for 3 coming back strong in this pass protection? He's a guy that's going to be able to do it. So to me, he's a plug and play guy that, if you obviously at that level and with all our guys, guys aren't being brought in to be number 1, number 2 guys, but he's a guy that will come in, get it done on special teams, play hard, be able to be a third down back if that's what you need him. And if it gets to the point where you need to give him some touches on first and second down, he's shown he's the most explosive back in the league. So, fingers crossed for him. And he's a great young man who's had to persevere through a lot of frustration. I heard him, say one time, I dominated the Big Ten. I dominated the USFL competition. What more do I need to do? And, the reality, it doesn't always make sense. You know what I mean? And so that's life. It's not always fair. And football teaches you that as well. So I have a ton of admiration for Reggie, because he is hanging in there and continue to persevere and work hard. And so I'm optimistic that it's still going to happen for him here shortly.
I agree. I really hope it does. Reggie's a great guy, and I personally think he's an amazing running back. Seeing him dominate the way he did this season, given the fact that he played a limited amount of games, and he really hasn't played in like 3 years up to this point. Yeah. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah. And he got a hamstring early in camp that he was kind of battling through. And I liked his college film a lot, but we didn't know what he had. And as far as a guy that makes things happen, I mean, he's a playmaker. So he's got that it factor. And so, him and Bob Pollard and Paxton Lynch. I mean, I could plug my guys all day long, but there's a lot of deserving guys, and we ended up finishing the year really strong on offense, and so they're deserving of looks at the next level.
Agreed. So let's talk about another position group on your offense. How did you feel about your offensive line's performance throughout the season?
Yeah, our O-line coach Callaway, I thought he did a really good job with those guys. I think the one thing I kind of look at as we drafted and built that line is, we were a little light. And so one kind of unique thing for me was going against all these 3-4, like true pro style defenses. I mean, when you go against odd front defenses at the college level, it's so hard to find those big interior guys that, like, yeah, maybe they have a big nose that's tough to block, but those 4 techs, they're 250, they're 200. Like, you can move them. You're okay. You're not worried about. Man, when we played New Jersey and when we played Pittsburgh and we played some of the other teams that played that 3-4 front against us, and And, you know, we had really athletic tackles, but they were light. And so, you know, it was tough in the run game. And so, you know, for me, it definitely kind of opened my eyes to professional football. And there's a little bit of a learning curve there for me as far as like, oh, this is why the Patriots, you know, will run the ball 40 times one game and then throw it 50 times the next for no real rhyme or reason, because, you know, you need to make some judgments there. So, you know, I thought all in all, our group played well up front and competed. You know, there's some consistency things that would have loved to see, you know, just a little bit more consistency there. And then, you know, I thought again, against some of those 3-4 teams, we just didn't match up as well as we did against the even front teams. I thought against even front teams, we really ran the ball well and played well against some of those teams. And then, you know, the other thing is I got to look at myself in the mirror. I think there's some times where from a run game standpoint, you know, need a little more creativity, a little more variation in the run game besides just run zone weak. And, you know, yeah, the numbers are there, but, you know, again, when you're facing some of those, the 290-pound, 310-pound monsters that some of those teams were able to put on the field at, you know, 0 and both 4 techniques, you know, those were challenging. So I got my work cut out for me as far as some off-season study stuff where I got to continue to grow and make sure I put our guys in better position there.
I could definitely see that. I mean, part of the USFL that's so great is it's allowing coaches to grow as well, correct?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And so, yeah, I mean, this is what this thing's about is everybody getting better. And, you know, for me personally, had a really good plan coming in and one that I'd worked very, very hard on. And like all plans, you know, you put them in place and, we made some tweaks as things went. You know, it was a crazy year. 4 weeks into the year, we were the leading Russian team in the USFL, and I think down near the bottom as far as passing game is concerned. And by the end of the year, we lead the league in passing yards per game. And you know, I think we finished third in rushing. But it was just the dichotomy of what we were doing offensively really shifted as the year went, and also. You know, they have professionals on the other side too. So 4 games in, when you're running the air out of the football and really imposing your will, teams are going to make sure they work hard to take that away. So, you know, just got to continue to evolve what we do and what I do offensively, and also make sure that, you know, Steve Kaiser, our personnel guys, got my inbox full as far as all the prospects we got to try and get evaluated and hopefully sign a couple good free agents in the next couple weeks as we see who doesn't stick on NFL rosters, and you know, just continue to continue to improve what we're doing, and you know, hopefully it puts us over the top as a team.
Interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how the draft works out this offseason and when free agency starts to really ramp up for all you guys' teams. I'm excited to see how the talent evaluators work. There's a lot of variables in spring football.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So, yeah, and I mean, it's just unique. You know, there's so many unknown. Like, all right, you just get cut from the Jaguars. You're a right tackle. You're a really good player. You're going to have the XFL calling. You're going to have the USFL calling. You know, you're also going to want to keep your options open. You know, you have Canada. You have all these different things. So, it's a good time to be a football player. You know, one thing, and you know, I try not to. Sometimes I'm trolling for news just like you guys. So sometimes that's why I'm paying attention to all the Twitter accounts and the podcasts. But you know, is there enough talent for 2 spring leagues and the CFL and all this? I mean, so many people want to play football and play professional football. And that's one hard thing for young players. It was hard for me to understand in college when I was not acting right and got in trouble and suspended. And all of a sudden another guy's playing quarterback for the old Panthers. Is the second you don't value the opportunity you have, somebody else is going to come take it, you know? And so I heard an insane number of people tried to get to the XFL showcases and whatever else. And, you know, yeah, there are only so many 6'5", 300-pound human beings that are athletic enough to play offensive tackle. Sure, you have some limitations on that, but I mean, there are going to always be enough guys to fill out rosters if people are paying $50,000 a year to go and play professional football for 5 months. I can guarantee you that.
Oh yeah, 100%. You touched on it a couple times now. You guys are now in direct competition with the XFL heading into 2023. Are you concerned that you're going to lose any of your players to the XFL?
I don't quote me on any of this stuff, because the first iteration of the contract, I understand, was different than, like, if you got signed halfway through the year, at the end of the year, you were signing a different contract. But I think in general, we have 2-year rights to players. So if you played in the USFL this year, your out was the NFL. And now if it's down to us in the USFL, or excuse me, us in the XFL, I believe we have your rights. Now, I haven't seen the contract, nor am I a lawyer. I would also imagine that there are a lot of things above my pay grade. I just try and make sure that, we're blocking up inside zone right, and all those different things. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be competition. That goes back to my point earlier. Like, we need to make sure we do a great job of letting our guys that are coming back and the free agents we're trying to attract know that, hey, we're going to be just as competitive as the XFL, as far as, financially, accommodations, all those different things. And, oh, by the way, we've already completed 1 year, and we have a track record of putting 40 plus guys into NFL camps. And so that's a pretty compelling pitch right now.
Agreed. I could be wrong, but I think that 40 number is possibly the highest it's been since the original USFL. Wow. From any spring league. So I could be wrong. I'll double check those facts before I post this live. But with that being said, I'm pretty sure it's pretty high up there. So we talked about talent acquisition heading into the next season. Heading into next season right now, you have Josh Love, Paxton Lynch, and Eric Barrier. I hope I pronounced that last name correctly.
A little more French, Barrier.
Okay, Barrier. Okay, I should have known that. Are you happy with this group, or is there consideration to use a second straight first overall pick on a quarterback?
I'd say it's a little early for that conversation, but I mean, I love that quarterback room. I really do. And so the other unique thing with spring football is, where guys are at personally. Like, do they want to continue to put the work in? Some of the older guys have families. Are you going to go spend 6 months in Birmingham or 6 months in Michigan, wherever it may be this next year? So, a guy like Paxton, man, I hope he comes back. And he was great for us down the stretch. And, speaking of guys that, to me, one, I can't tell you how much admiration I have, because just the vitriol that gets thrown his way. I mean, he didn't play well in the scrimmage. No one was more disappointed than him. And just the absolute trash you see come out of people's Twitter accounts headed to that guy who I love being around Paxton. Great man, good father, good husband, competitor. He's accomplished more than I ever did as a player, than 99.9% of the population. But two, he has persevered through so much just vitriol thrown his way for no other reason than, he had success and he got an opportunity, and I'm sure it didn't go as well as he wanted, but he's continued to battle his butt off to get his next one. And so, I was so happy to see the way he closed out the year. And, he was banged up with a bad ankle really since week 3. And so for him to get healthy and be able to play a couple games, one, I was hoping it was really going to jumpstart his resurgence back to the NFL. I mean, I would say that if you cut on anybody's best game, I don't think anybody played a better game at quarterback than he did in week 10 against Pittsburgh. I really don't. I mean, he was dominant throwing the ball. He was good running the ball, moving around. And so, by the way, he's started games in the NFL, the physical talent. I mean, he's a first-round pick, and he's just a good dude. So, I really hope he gets another opportunity. But, I mean, I liked our offense a lot, and I liked our players a lot. And so, if they don't get opportunities at the next level, and he's more than deserving, we'll be welcoming him back with open arms. And, I hope he wants to, if it doesn't work out, I hope he wants to come back and try and be, the best player in the league next year. And Love showed a ton of flashes during his couple starts and did a great job throwing the ball. And Barrier, in his game, almost goes out and beats New Jersey in relief. So, for Love and Barrier, man, they showed up week 4 and had to learn a whole system that, guys had week 4, week 5, that guys had been zooming on for a month and had in training camp. And, what people don't understand is it's like jump into French class halfway through the semester. You're not on day one words anymore. You know what I want? You know what I mean? It's not bonjour and Jean m'appelle. It's freaking full sentences. And so, guys like Love and Barrier come in and, yeah, hey, here's the playbook. Here are these base calls, but we're now on, Zoom left 8 far 14 R Babs, blah, 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 blah. And so, for these guys to be able to jump in and get caught up and be functional football players, I know when they get an opportunity to come back and go through the full camp phase and everything else, it's going to be a really competitive room. It's going to be really deep. And, ultimately all three of those guys, if you told me I had to start 10 games with one of them, I'd be really, really confident in what we'd be able to do offensively.
I like it. That's a great answer, and I'm sure they'd be all satisfied with that because you didn't single anybody out. So how do you look to adapt your game plan in season 2, or do you feel like you have it pretty set after the resurgence you guys had toward the end of the season there?
I think you're gonna look at the things that worked well for you, and things we're consistent on, and things that didn't work out necessarily, and say, all right, can we improve them? Can we teach them better? Can we run them better, or do we need to throw them out? And then the other thing is going through this now, like there are so many logistical question marks about year one, right? Like, what can we get installed with this group? What will we be able to practice? All these different things. So, for me and the staff right now, it's going to be a process of just going back through and making sure we streamline some of the things that we're doing. Are there some calls that we're worried that we can make easier? Are there some concepts that we carried that we didn't run a lot? Those type of things. And then it's one of the cool things about this job is, if you're in college right now, one, I'm having to wrap my head around, it's like December on my personal calendar, right? Like everybody else is starting football. And for me, it's like, okay, we just had a month and a half off for summer, had a nice little vacation. Now you're getting back and you're studying, the offenses you want to study and growing your skill set. I want to do a deep dive into some of the most current things that are being taught at the quarterback position, especially from a footwork standpoint. Go back and look at some offensive line things, et cetera, et cetera. But, I don't have to worry about, we got to evaluate film and make sure we're competitive in free agency, trying to find the best players. But, I don't have to go recruit. I don't have to run camps. I don't have to run weight rooms, all these different things. So there's a lot of time to continue to develop and grow. And my plan this offseason to kind of embed with a couple teams, and I'll follow Alabama, I'll follow the Chiefs, and try and stay up with some of their game films and different things like that, and make sure that schematically can I get a feel for the vibrations they're on and the rhythms of what they're trying to do to people, and then does something fit within what we're doing? Do we like it? Great, let's find a place for it. If not, we'll continue just to streamline our stuff organically. So, it's always a work in progress. And if you stay stagnant, people are going to figure it out. Now people got 10 games of tape on me. And so, at the USFL level. So, whoever we have week 1 next year, will be watching that till their eyes bleed. So, we better make sure the things we did well then, we continue to do well, and that we also evolve and continue to move the target.
100%. Out of curiosity, who's your favorite current play caller other than yourself?
I don't know. There's a few times this year that I probably wasn't my biggest fan, but no, I mean, some of the guys, there's the big names out there. I think Shanahan does an unbelievable job of putting his quarterbacks in positions to be successful. I think McVay does a great job of adapting his system to whoever he's got playing quarterback. And then as they were able to get Stafford in this year, you get an elite player, and now your system goes to a whole another level. But I also have a lot of respect for the way he runs his entire organization. I'm trying to think of some other guys off the top. I mean, the Chiefs obviously are ridiculous in what they do. And, one of the things for me, like I've been trying to look at is not just the scheme of play callers, but also the rhythm. And so, I think there were times where I was a little bit conservative this year as a play caller. And, I was watching a Chiefs game this year, and Andy Reid is just firing from the hip. I mean, he's just calling. It's not necessarily shot after shot, but it is shot after gadget after screen. I mean, and so, you know, there are things that you're trying to pick up and learn, and you know, hopefully I'll be able to have some conversations with some more pro guys here in the off season as well to really try and get an understanding of, you know, all the, not just the X's and O's of how they run it, but their thought process, how they call things, how they communicate things to professional players. There's a lot of nuance that, you know, I'm excited to, now that I've gotten a taste for it. And that was one of the big things I learned from Coach Fisher right off the jump was, you know, I'm not at the college level anymore. You treat these guys like men, and not being in a professional setting before, it was so cool to kind of see him set the course for how we were able to interact with these guys. And, you know, every now and then you got to get into somebody a little bit, but I've never yelled less in my life than I have this year, because it's just, I mean, it was unbelievable coaching this group of guys. They were professional. They showed up. They worked hard every day. You treat them like men. They handled their business. And, you know, I just obviously wish there's a couple games we could have found a way to get it done. But, you know, that is what it is, and look forward to getting after it next year.
Agreed. Unfortunately, somebody had to lose some of those games, and it just happened to be you guys, unfortunately.
Yeah.
With that being said, was going to work for Jeff Fisher part of your motivation in taking this position with the Michigan Panthers?
Yeah, I think anytime you get an opportunity to work for a guy that obviously has accomplished so much. I mean, he's 16 years in the NFL. I want to say he's like the 10th or 11th winningest coach in NFL history. You know, something crazy like that when you think of just anybody who's tried to coach NFL football, and to be able to do it that long and that well. So that was, you know, it was a huge opportunity for me. And, you know, also this business, it's all about, you know, who you know and who you can align with. And obviously if you can go and do a good job for him, you know, hopefully it's going to continue to open doors up and those different things. And so, you know, I'm excited as all heck for our guys that are getting NFL opportunities. And, you know, hopefully one day I get an NFL opportunity, you know, or, you know, one day get a chance to be a head coach at the USFL level, you know, whatever it may be. But, you know, I have aspirations to continue and grow, but I mean, getting an opportunity to coach for Coach Fisher's been a dream come true. And I love the level. I love the league. I love the competition, guys we got to work with, and working for him. I mean, he gives you a ton of autonomy, and you know, especially as a young coach, you know, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for an opportunity to implement your system. And yeah, there's some feedback and some parameters, but at the same time, definitely let me, you know, take the ball and run with it.
Absolutely. So one last question, and you kind of prefaced it just now. Obviously, you've got some plans to hopefully be in the NFL or be a head coach once again at the professional level. With that being said, how do you think you've developed after 1 year at the professional level as an offensive coordinator and eventual head coach?
Yeah, I think the first thing is just understanding, not being at the professional level before, understanding the way you're able to communicate and operate with these guys, and not everyone's perfect, but 98% are so professional, so driven. Yeah, you know, there needs to be some parameters and some motivation, and you need to make sure your culture is going the right way. But at the same time, like, it's just different. And so being able to kind of implement things at a level that matches their acumen, I think, as far as like, because right now is the time you start putting together your next offensive philosophy, your playbook for next year, right? How are we going to teach it to them? You know, you also, as a coach, like, if you get a call tomorrow for a head coaching position, you want to make sure you have some stuff prepared, right? So now it kind of allows me to project as far as, all right, at this level, here's how I plan to run things, and how I'm going to connect with guys that are a little bit older, that aren't 18 to 22 anymore, that are 22 to 30. The other thing for me is like I touched on it earlier, but one of my big takeaways, my high school coach, Mark Stewart, was a tremendous influence on me. And he was actually our running back coach this year with the Michigan Panthers. So that was really, really cool to be able to make that happen. But wing T, we ran the football, you know, I was a college quarterback, threw the ball all over the yard. But there's always been a part of me that's like, hey, you have to run the football. And really, he kind of instilled it with me. And this is kind of the first time in my life where we played a couple of defenses late in the year playing New Jersey. We weren't going to be able to run the football. Like they were really, really good on defense. They had the personnel, they had the scheme. And yeah, we're going to try and run a little bit. But so my point is, I think it was the first time where the personnel was such a big deal that it's okay to say, you know what, this week we're not gonna make a concerted effort to run the ball, or this week we think we're better and we're gonna run the football and run the air out of the ball and make sure that, you know, we protect it and grind this game out and figure out a way to win it. So, you know, again, I touched on like understand a little bit the kind of some of the weird box scores you'll see from the Patriots over the years, where yeah, sometimes they're balanced, they're a normal team, they're throwing it 30 times, they're running it 30 times, other times all of a sudden Tom Brady would have 55 attempts and you'd be like, what the heck is going on? Or they come out in the eye and just run the ball 50 times in a playoff game. So yeah, just starting to kind of connect the dots on some of those things that I've seen over the years that I haven't quite understood the why until I've been able to get to this level. Now it's making a little more sense, and I'm trying to make sure that I get caught up on all these things and stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. So Eric Marty, future Bill Belichick once you get the opportunity. But once again, man, I really appreciate you coming on. I mean, it's been a lot of fun chopping it up with you. I've gotten to talk to some coaches. I spoke with Rick Courtwright a couple weeks ago, the defensive line coach for the Maulers, but never quite a coordinator. So it's kind of cool to hear the position groups, how you look at the whole offense as a whole, and then as well as your varied experience, whether it was coaching offensive line, wide receivers, quarterbacks, or this year coaching a little bit of everything. So it's definitely interesting to hear your perspective, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Sam, my pleasure. Thanks for the time, and appreciate all your interest and support and supporting these guys and supporting our league.
Absolutely. I definitely look forward to doing it a lot more in the future. One of the pleasures of my writing career so far has been writing about the USFL. It was really, really fun to follow. And I'm telling everybody still to this day, if you haven't hopped on the spring football train, you should now, because honestly, it provides a little bit something that NFL doesn't at this point. And I don't want to knock on the NFL by any stretch. We all love it. You see the Eagles gear all behind me. But USFL definitely showed me something this season, that spring football has a place in this world, and I think we all need to start supporting it going forward so we can have year-round football.
Absolutely. I'm with you.
Definitely.
I appreciate it, Sam. Thanks.
Absolutely. Have a great night, and I appreciate you spending an hour with me.
My pleasure.